we're doing a low carb, mixed vegetables and panini pasta. Now when I say pasta, a lot of you may say low carb with a question mark, because generally we do not think of pasta as something low carb. What we're using tonight is a Dreamfields pasta. And what it has, it actually has 41 carbs total in this pasta. But what the difference is there's 5 carbs of fiber, which kind of annul part of your carbs. And then it has what they call 41 carbs, or 31 carbs of a protected carb. And what that does, it's more of a slow acting carb. Nurse Lori was telling me earlier today, and I know this to be a fact also, that some people later on their sugar may react to it a little bit more than up front. When you eat regular egg and flour pasta, it's pretty quick acting carbs. This is more of a slow acting carb, and it'll help your glucerna rate. It'll stretch it out some for you and help it react in a slower way. So what we're going to do tonight, I already have the dish prepared. I just have about 15 minutes tonight in order for you all to eat. They're saying shut up and let us eat right now, right? No, we only have about 15 minutes or so, 15 or 20 minutes in order to be able to get everything in and to let this young lady come and present her program. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I've used all the vegetables. Like I said, I've got the dish completely done, but I want to go through the recipe with you tonight just very quickly in case there's any questions. This recipe, as I said, is about 6 servings, okay? One box of this pasta is 6 servings. What we're going to start off with is the vegetables tonight. In this bowl, I have green bell pepper and I have orange bell pepper. I like to use color when I eat. We've talked, for you that have been here before, we've talked about using color. We eat with our eyes first. I like to see something that looks good, and if it looks good, I'm more out to try it, right? And then the second thing we have in a lot of these recipes that you'll use with mixed vegetables and soups and sauces and stews such as we're doing tonight, you'll use potatoes, right? Instead of using potatoes tonight, we are using butternut squash. In 1 cup of butternut squash, there's approximately 5 carbs in 1 cup. And you're using, in your recipe here tonight, you're using a half a cup. So you're using about 2.5 carbs for your butternut squash. You're also using onions. Believe it or not, onions does have carbs in it. You have about, I think there's about 3 carbs in onions, and tonight we're using 1 medium-sized onion. We're using celery, we're using carrots, and again, in place of potatoes tonight, we have used the butternut squash, and we're also adding some zucchini. This is just a regular green zucchini. That all this produce you can get down in our produce department here at Food City. And what we've done with this is we've taken a little bit of oil and we put it in our pot when we began the recipe tonight, and we browned our chicken. We're going to use about 1 pound of chicken. Now we've jumped this up in anticipation of this large crowd being here tonight. We have kind of doubled this recipe just a little bit, but we're going to use 1 pound in our recipe. And what you do is you take your chicken, a little bit of olive oil, you season your chicken well. What do you season it with? Whatever you like. Spices generally, now there are some spices that have some carbs in them. Watch your labels. What I use tonight is I use very little bit of salt. I used a little bit of pepper, a little bit of Italian seasoning, and also I used a little bit of minced garlic in our chicken. I put it in, I browned it really good. I got a good sear on both sides of the chicken, and after we seared it real well, I took it out and put it aside and allowed it to cool just a little bit. And then after we allowed it to cool, while we're allowing it to cool, I put just a hair more olive oil. Now you're going to have some residual olive oil in the pan already from where you cooked your chicken, and a little bit of oil in your pan that you can use, but just added about a tablespoon more of olive oil in. And then I added all my vegetables. For the vegetables that we used tonight, it filled this pot up, okay, when we first put it in, because that's a lot of vegetables. What I used tonight was 2 cups of everything. Where your recipe calls for 1, I used 2 cups of everything to double the recipe. And it filled this pot up. Now I'm going to take the lid off, and you can see even with the liquid in there, it has cooked down to about half. So don't be scared to fill your pot full of vegetables, because it is going to cook down. And you can see all the different vegetables in our chicken. And as we cook those down, season your vegetables. Now I don't mean use a lot of salt, but folks, season them. The good Lord grew them for us, okay? and he expects us to season them when we cook them in order to give them a little more taste. You can use salt, you can use pepper, you can use rosemary, you can use basil, you can use whatever you like. That's the thing about cooking, and we talk a lot about up here. It's not science, folks. If you like it, cook with it. And with the low carbs, just watch your labels. Most spices are not high carb, but you get into some anisin and some different stuff like that, and there may be some carbs in that. But just watch out your spices, spice it how you like. Cook your vegetables down till they're about half. You want them kind of translucent, you want them kind of clear looking, and then what you're going to do is you're going to add your chicken back in. You're going to incorporate your chicken back into your vegetables. You're going to mix it all up. So we're going to cook it down. We're going to get it good and warm, and then we're going to add our chicken stock in. And what I've added in here is 1 quart of chicken stock. We're going to let it simmer for about 20 minutes. All your vegetables, once you did it, have cooked down, all but probably your butternut squash. Your butternut squash is more of a hard, dense vegetable like potatoes. So we're going to cook it about 20 minutes in order to incorporate and let all the flavors mingle and blend together. And then after we do that, we got our chicken stock in, we got all of our flavorings in. We're going to take a little bit of flour. And when I mean a little bit, this recipe calls for a half a cup. Folks, I did not use, I doubled the recipe, and I used probably 1/8 of a cup, okay? And why I did that is because we are cooking low carb tonight, right? So flour is a high carb food. It's a processed white flour that we used. So what I did is I took just a little bit of olive oil and I made a roux. I made a blonde roux. And what that is just a little bit of olive oil, a little bit of flour, and I stirred it up and mixed it up really good. And then I drizzled it into my liquid. And what that does is that tightens everything up. That'll tighten and thicken everything up. And you can see here that it's not just runny. It's more like a chicken noodle consistency, or more like maybe a chicken and dumplings consistency. And after that gets everything thickened up, put your lid on it, let it simmer for about 5 more minutes or until you're ready for it. Take it off the heat. And what we're going to serve it with tonight, like I said before, is our panini pasta. And I've went ahead and cooked our panini pasta. You can see here, it is a tubular pasta. And one reason I like to use panini with this type of sauce is this type of sauce will go inside of that pasta and it flavors it really well.